Angela's from the Halifax Women's Centre, and so it's a good example of a particular case where, you know, the cuts are going to bite without a savagery.
I haven't actually prepared anything because I didn't know I was going to be sort of speaking formally, but I'm Angela Everson. I'm the Joint Chief Exec of the Women's Centre. The Women's Centre has been in Calderdale for 25 years, and 2.5 years ago, we merged with the Women's Centre in Kirklees. So we now actually work across Calderdale and Kirklees. And we fought very, very hard over the years to develop a lot of services for women across Calderdale, and obviously Kirklees were doing that at the same time. We call our services holistic services because we actually, when a woman comes through the door, she could be coming through the door with any problem. It could be domestic violence, it could be a mental health problem, it could be a problem with children, it could be for a pregnancy test or to see a midwife. It could just be because she's feeling lonely and isolated and vulnerable. But actually, the response we give to that woman is, to any woman who comes through our door, is exactly the same. We treat that person as an individual, we sit that person down, we ask them what help and support it is that they want, and then we look together with the individual to try and offer them the best package of support that we possibly can. Now our turnover is about £1.2 million as a Women's Centre. But that just doesn't come from one place. We've got between 35 and 40 different funding sources. So some of our funding will be from the big lottery, some will be from government departments. For example, one of our projects is a nationally acclaimed project where we work with women offenders and women at risk of offending. That comes from the Ministry of Justice. We've got 15, 20 different contracts we have had at different times with the local authority. Some for children affected by domestic abuse, some for women affected by domestic abuse. We've got them from the Primary Care Trust with NHS Calderdale for offering counselling to people, again, domestic violence. And for a long time we've been saying, you know, there are things that could be done and could be done better in terms of making things easier for us as a big charity, especially with our local contracts. Pull them all together, let us just work with one contracts manager, give us some funding as a whole instead of giving us 15 different sources of funding, to enable us to really work holistically with the women that we want to support. But at the present time, after working so hard, you know, and Frida, who's the chair of the Women's Centre, has been involved since we started, 25 years ago. Frida was one of the people who fought so hard 25 years ago, and Alice was involved at the time, to try and get a Women's Centre started so that we could support women in Calderdale. And we have worked hard. You know, we are the biggest women's centre in the country. We have over 5,000 contacts, direct contacts with women who we support, and some people come to us once, some people come to us 25 times, 40 times, 100 times. There's no time limit on the support that we give to women. But we have fought hard, and at the present time, we don't know what our position is going to be beyond the 1st of April next year. At our Kirklees end, for the very first time, we have funding from places like Comic Relief, and we have funding from the council in Kirklees and from the Lang Kelly Chase Foundation. So that funding is secure probably for another couple of years. But virtually our national contracts, like ones from the Ministry of Justice and government departments, big ones, we don't know if they're going to continue. And every single local contract that we have, we don't know if it's going to continue. And we've always been in a position when we've had service level agreements for a year at a time and thought, well, that will continue. So we won't we won't look at saying to our staff, we're going to have to make you redundant, or you're going to be at risk of losing your hours. But for the first time ever as an organisation, we really don't know what our position is going to be from the 1st of April, and we're looking at cuts across the organisation of up to two-thirds of our staffing we could lose. You know, I've got 16 staff who are working with women affected by domestic abuse in I don't know if we're going to be able to maintain those services. We are in the hands of other people, as we all are actually. But my biggest concern is for those vulnerable people who need our services. And that's not just us as a women's centre, there's other voluntary community sector groups in Calderdale as well who have worked so hard to try and get it right for some of the most vulnerable and marginalised people in our area. And regardless of whether we're here or not, in the same way in which we are now from the beginning of April, those women and those children and those people affected by mental health, drug and alcohol problems, women offenders, they need our support. They need to be seen. And actually these are not people who are actually going to statutory services. They don't engage with statutory services because they say we don't get the same sort of response as we get from you. And I know there's probably people in this room tonight who have worked with us, who have volunteered with us as an organisation. They know the quality of the services we provide. They know we offer value for money. We've had research reports undertaken of our work saying you offer value for money, your provision is such good value and the quality of it is so good, and the outcomes that individuals get from your organisation, from the support you give to them, are second to none. But actually, we don't know beyond the 1st of April. And I'm very, very sad because for the first time ever I've had to serve 32 of my staff, and that includes myself as well, without risk of redundancy notices and reduced hours. And I'm so sad about that because we offer such good services.
Yeah.
And so I've got people working for me. And volunteers as well. People love their jobs. They love working with us. And actually, they don't go into work and just sort of say do their hours and walk out of the door again at the end of the day. They come to work. They feel as though they're making a difference. And I don't want them not to be able to make that difference to people. So I'm really sad about it at the moment because I feel as though people who are doing a good job are going to be losing out, but the most vulnerable people in our society, some of the most vulnerable people, are going to be losing out. And all I'm doing at the moment is spending my time looking at redundancy situations and putting in every funding bid that we possibly can to try and keep our organisation afloat, because we don't know what's going to happen. And I feel powerless